Hey guys, Brandon Frizzelli here, and before we get started, want to give a shout out to Gimbledon. He's a friend of mine in real life. He made my new intro. Hopefully, once I'm done with this intro, he'll make me another one if I don't know how to do it myself by that time. But thank you for making my video, or not my video, but my intro. Also, I'm going to put an annotation somewhere on the screen. You'll see it to his page. You can see other work that he's done. He does intros for Galactic God, normally, and he does other stuff too. Check him out and go like his channel, subscribe to it, and let's check out what he does. So basically, what I want to talk about today is cards like Heavy Storm and Giant Grenade and Torrential Tribute, and just board sweepers. I kind of like feel that Yu-Gi-Oh, although they're necessary, that they need to be balanced. For example, we have Dark Hole. The way that Dark Hole is balanced is that it destroys the whole board, not just your opponent's board. But what if you haven't said anything or summoned anything yet? Then you are just destroying your opponent's board. So that's kind of like, bending the rules of Dark Hole a little bit. The same goes for Heavy Storm. Heavy Storm hits both sides of the board. And you know that if you're going to win, you would in a second give up your side of the board. So how could you balance these cards without breaking them? Without making them so unplayable or breaking them like other cards, like Giant Grenade. Giant Grenade is basically supposed to be a balanced version of Heavy Storm, and it turned out to be a little bit more broken. I mean, it's still banned. It allows you to do OTKs and allows you to do little tricky things with cards. Oh, let me set my Call the Haunted. Now let me activate it. Get my Sangan effect or my, Stratos. Let me set it again so I could do it again. Type of thing. And it's like, I always think, like, do cards like Heavy Storm and Heavy Storm and Giant Grenade and, Dark Hole and Raigeki and Harpies need to exist? Like, should they exist? We have so many single shot removal cards, like, just Mystical, Breaker, Dust Tornado, regular Tornado, Mystical, whatever, there's other Typhoons, there's, little Hurricane, all sorts of stuff, any variation of the word that you can think of, they got it. And so, it just interests me that, obviously you wouldn't play those cards if you have 3 Mysticals. Or, so people will go back down to the next thing. They'd probably go to Dust Tornado, since it's basically just a little bit slower than Mystical. So then if that was gone, you'd probably play Night Beam. But now you just can't hit face-ups. So they would play probably 2 Night Beam, and then double Cyclone, or whatever it's called. So you could hit, 2 things, or whatever. Hit your thing, and then hit their thing. Or just something like that. Just cause people think of combos. So like I've seen this happen in the game multiple times. What's the card? When Fissure was out, people played Fissure, and then Smashing Ground came out, so people stopped playing Smashing Grounds and started playing just Smashings. And then people started playing a combination of Smashings and Fissures. And it's really weird. And like, it's just interesting to see the cards that people choose to play. And if one card doesn't exist, then they'll fall back to the next best thing. For example, if Torrential Tribute didn't exist, people would start playing Needle Sealing, because Needle Sealing is the closest thing to Torrential without it being unplayable. I'm sure there's other cards that destroy things on the board and whatever, but they probably have these crazy stipulations and stuff. And so really my question is, like, do you think that cards like Torrential Tribute, Mirror Force, Heavy Storm should exist, or should there be more balanced versions of them? It's crazy that Dark Hole is off the list when we have Lightning Vortex. Lightning Vortex is a balanced version of Raigeki, and nobody plays it because they don't want to lose hand advantage, which is understandable. But I mean, people are playing cards like Maxi, Pot of Duality, Pot of Avarice, Archetype, Draw Power, and a lot of cards work with the graveyard. I wouldn't be surprised if a resurgence of at least a couple decks running Lightning Vortex, Lightning Vortex in their main or whatever, and just to fuel that graveyard a little bit, to clear out the opponent's back or monster zone, and get a monster in the graveyard that they needed in there for whatever reason. And like, it just interests me that, like, I mean, it seems like we're back in that kind of era. And I understand that we have Dark Hole, so you don't need to play Vortex, but why not play a Dark Hole and a Vortex? I mean, is there not enough room in the deck? I don't understand. So yeah, so do you think that, there should be just more balanced versions of cards and then just ban all the cards that are like that. Like, I think Heavy Storm should be on the ban list. I think that Heavy Storm should be on the ban list. I think Dark Hole should be on the ban list because we have alternatives to them. You know, there's regular Storm. You're going to lose all your stuff, but you were going to lose all your stuff anyway if you were playing Heavy Storm. You know, unless you were playing no back row. And then, you know, that would give cards or decks the opportunity to run cards like Starlight Road. I see it here and there teched in, you know, now that Heavy Storm is out again and people are playing it. But I mean, like, you know, it's whatever. You don't really need it. And people start playing cards like Storm, they're going to start, you know, teching in a little more crazy stuff. You know, and like, Lightning Vortex, I think, is a really balanced version of Raigeki. It's a good alternative to Dark Hole when we don't have Dark Hole. I just don't understand why there isn't a Heavy Storm that's like that, but even more balanced. Because I think just tributing one monster for a Heavy Storm effect is godly. I mean, like, if you were to, say, make a card that says, destroy all backfield cards your opponent controls, or destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls, discard one card. You know, discard one card, or send one card from your hand to destroy all cards your opponent controls. People will be playing that in threes. You know, I mean, like, that'd be, like, ridiculous, because back row removal is just, like, very prevalent. People love it. You know, but if you, let's say you made it discard one spell card to destroy face down spell and trap cards your opponent controls, you know, and then you can't do something else. No special something for the turn. Or pay 1,000 life points. Or something like that. People would think twice about running this card, but there would still be people who run it because it's still a pretty good option. You know, oh, I have Heavy Storm and this card, and I'll lose my special summon for the turn, but I'll have cleared out my opponent's back row for next turn. You know, type of thing. And you know, just stuff like that. Like, I mean, like, do you think that they should balance Heavy Storms and stuff and get rid of all the single shot? Not all of them, but just like limit them to one, or limit them to two, limit all the things to two. You know, all that type of stuff. So tell me in the comment section below, do you think that we need cards like Heavy Storm and Dark Hole that are just free, blanket effects, or do you think that they need to be balanced, and then those older cards need to be put to sleep for good? You know, just let me know what you think in the comment section below about that. Hit the like video, check out Gambledon's page, you can subscribe here as well, and thanks for watching.